Welcome back. While major diplomatic efforts are underway here in Doha, Darfur rebels have been critical of Arab-led peace efforts. They say they were designed to save Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir from the international court proceedings for alleged war crimes, genocide and crimes against humanity. GEM spokesman made it clear that whatever the outcome of the case against Bashir, it should not be linked to the current talks in Doha. Meanwhile, the Egyptian foreign minister and the head of intelligence have visited Khartoum and held a closed meeting with the Sudanese president. They have reportedly conveyed a message from President Mubarak to al-Bashir urging him to take practical, serious and quick steps with regards to Darfur peace and war crimes trials. They hope to convince the international community of Khartoum's seriousness. The ICC judges are expected to release a decision before the end of the month in which they agree to issue an arrest warrant. Joint efforts from those that lobbied the UN Security Council this week to scupper the charges have failed to achieve a breakthrough. The African Union, Arab League, non-aligned movements and Organization of Islamic Conference called for invoking Article 16, which allows the UNSC to suspend the ICC prosecutions in any case for a period of 12 months that can be renewed indefinitely. The group didn't have enough votes to push through a resolution. Well, joining us now from Khartoum is our correspondent, Mohammed Val. Mohammed, give us a sense of the amount of support for Omar al-Bashir in Sudan, and also if there are any people out there who actually support his arrest.
Imran, with regard to support for Omar al-Bashir, he can basically rely on the majority of non-politicized Sudanese who will support him from the sheer principle of national pride, national sovereignty. They will oppose any external power coming to arrest their president, mainly from that principle. And I'm talking here about the majority of Muslim Arabs in the north and many tribes, also many Arab tribes in Darfur. Aside from that, Omar al-Bashir has a lot of opposition both inside Khartoum, in the north, in Darfur, in the south. Sudan has been at war for a long time with almost half of the country in the south. Sudan is at war with a big chunk of the territory in Darfur, and that has created a lot of animosity against Omar al-Bashir in those areas of Sudan. Also here, the opposition parties will not stand against, most of the opposition parties will not stand against an arrest warrant against Omar al-Bashir.
Mohammed Val, thank you very much for that. Well, we're still joined by our guests in Doha, Abdurrahman Al-Khalifa, also in Doha, Ahmed Hussein Adam, and in Nairobi, Fuad Hikmet. Mr. Hikmet, it seems as if Omar al-Bashir has a lot of support over the International Criminal Court issue. Is there a fear that a trial may derail the entire Darfur peace process?
I think, just let me go back very quickly to the previous point, and I think it is very important for the Darfur people at some point in the process that their voice is heard, because that process have to be an inclusive process and not presented by one. So I do agree that the rest of the segments of the Darfurian society have to come into the process at some point. Now, going to your question, I think there are two issues. One is that there is the peace process and the implementation of the comprehensive peace agreement, and there is the issue of justice. And I see these two as separate processes. And the ICC indictment and the possible indictment of the president and the previous indictments on the first case, which includes Ahmed Haroun and Ali Koshep, those issues have to be dealt with, and at the same time the pursuit for a peace settlement to the Darfur crisis and proper implementation and adherence to the principles of the comprehensive peace agreement is another issue. And it is about the Sudanese government that how it's going to react to these two more than the international community and the International Criminal Court.
Ahmed Hussein Adam from GEM, do you support the arrest of the Sudanese president?
We support the ICC measures, actually, because the ICC is the only legal mechanism right now, is capable and qualified actually to achieve and to serve justice, in Darfur, because right now we don't have independent judiciary in our country, and even our penal law actually didn't provide any kind of provision regarding the crimes of genocide and crimes against humanity and crimes of war. And, the judiciary is, is under the control actually of the executive power for security and political leadership or something like that. So in this circumstance, I think the only mechanism is the ICC, and I don't think that al-Bashir he got any kind of popular support, as your colleague actually of Khartoum had said, because that the popular support they make, they have some civil servants, sometimes they order them to go to the street, they have people in the schools and to order them actually to go in the street or something. I think the majority of the Sudanese, they suffered a lot actually from the policies, the economic policies and human rights policies of the government of Sudan and President al-Bashir, and I don't think that there is any kind of
Let's
support.
get a response from Abdurrahman al-Khalifa. Omar al-Bashir doesn't have popular support, says Mr. Adam, and that the ICC may be right in issuing an arrest warrant.
Mr. Adam does not represent anybody. He represents JEM. JEM is an opportunistic political movement. It's a military movement, and I don't expect JEM to say anything but this rubbish. I mean, Bashir has full support, has massive support. He has been to Darfur, he has been to Al-Fashir itself, he has been among the masses. Khalil himself cannot do it there. I mean, we have to be very honest, we have to be very fair. And they are trying to use, or rather abuse, a legal system for political purposes.
Okay, but what's your evidence? How is it being abused for political purposes?
Well, I mean, it's a process that has its support by some people who are not even partners in the ICC. It is a process that is handled by United States of America and France and United Kingdom.
But isn't it politically motivated as well in the defense of Omar al-Bashir from some of the supporters in the AU and the Arab League? Aren't they politically motivated as well? Because you've got some monarchs and some dictators. Some monarchs and dictators are hoping that they won't be next. So they're supporting Omar al-Bashir.
Well, this is very naive, I must say. It's not a question it's not a question of monarchs or whoever they are. And ICC is not going to be the king of the world. It's not going to fight on behalf of people. If you have a monarch, if you have a dictator, whoever he are, leave it to his own people. They are going to deal with him. But these people are seeing something being abused. They are seeing unfairness, and they are coming in to support a very fair cause.
Fuad Hikmet, a Sudan expert Alex Deval from the Social Science Research Council said that ICC prosecutor Ocampo's case, as it stands, is a mess, and that even if Omar al-Bashir is arrested and charged, that he'll most likely be let off on charges of, for example, on those charges for genocide. What do you make of that?
I think there is one thing that I would like to say very, very clear, that justice is part of a peaceful settlement in Darfur, and nobody denies that there have been atrocities and crimes being committed in Darfur. Even people within the government and within the majority ruling party, the NCP, knows that there are atrocities, there are crimes being dealt with, that are being committed in Darfur. And as we all see that there is 2.2 million people are displaced. However, the important thing is actually that the recognition of the International Criminal Court vis-a-vis the case of Sudan is being under the UN Resolution 1593, which referred actually the case to the ICC. That is one point. And the second point is that the cases that now being presented to the ICC, it is actually fall into the mandate of the International Criminal Court, which is to try to prevent or to stop impunity and to hold people accountable. And what is, I think, is important is that the government of Sudan, regardless of the issue of the ICC, but to recognize that there is a serious situation in Darfur, there is a system that it needs to be reversed, and impunity have to stop because it is not accepted by the Sudanese, it's not accepted by anyone. And that by itself, if this happens and if the government is able to take credible measures to reverse the system of the crimes and to stop the impunity in Darfur and to hold people accountable through a judicial accountability, installing a judicial accountability system, that by itself is going to improve the environment. It's going to create a conducive environment for peaceful settlement in Darfur, and that will give it more chance for the sustenance, that it is then sustainable and so on. I think this is the important point that I want to draw into the discussion. Those are issues, and definitely the ICC, I think, it does not have got the tool to implement its decision. So I doubt that at the moment there will be a certain mechanism that it is going to capture these people and taking them to the ICC.
Okay.
But
Okay,
the
Mr.
question
Hikmet.
is, how do we reverse that system and to stop impunity?
Okay, we have run out of time. Fuad Hikmet, thank you very much for that. Thanks to all our guests, Abdurrahman Al Khalifa, Ahmed Hussein Adam, and Fuad Hikmet. And thank you so much, the viewer, for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments, suggestions, or questions. You can email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye-bye for now.